how are you?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Maya. How are you doing today?
I'm doing so good now that you're here. I am so excited to have you on the show today. I mean, you guys are really in for a treat. I am so excited to have a special guest on the show that I'm sure you guys will learn a lot from. But before I start yapping about them, I'm going to let them yap about them. So I would love if you can introduce yourself.
All right, sounds good. Hi, everybody. My name is Andrew Paul McIntosh, AP for short. Yep, just go by AP, like Advanced Placement in the United States and Canada. So, about me, a little quick thing. So, in my day job, kind of main thing, I am a Forbes 30 under 30 VC-backed founder with King of the Curve. We are an ed tech company that started back in 2020 with the mission of helping students be able to get from pre-med to med through being able to study in an adaptive, affordable, and engaging way. Because we looked at the big competitors out there and went, too expensive, not very accessible for people that are low income or don't really have like healthcare focus in the family. So we wanted to make a fun solution to help people study for the MCAT better. So that's what we've been doing, and we've been doing that for almost 6 years now. Come this October, so very excited about that.
Wow. I can't even, like, guys, I'm speechless every time he talks. But that is absolutely amazing. And one thing about how we met is we actually met at Forbes 30 Under 30, the year
Hmm.
that they were being awarded. So,
Thank you.
again, congratulations to you on that, being a
Thank you.
2025 Forbes 30 Under 30. That is a
Thank you.
huge
Thank you.
accomplishment. I am so interested to get into more of what you've been doing and what you've been building. But let's start a little bit backwards. Let's talk a little bit more about how you got interested in doing what you were doing now. Like, what made you want to pursue this? You kind of alluded to some of it, of,
Hmm.
people being low income and, it's not affordable, and creating an engaging space for people to learn. But tell me how that really channeled into you taking the initiative on your own to go ahead and
Hmm.
just say, you know what? I don't see it, so let me just make it myself.
Yep, sounds good. So, kind of backing up a little bit, a couple of years ago, we were an IB kid, so go to International Baccalaureate Diploma Program. So, did that for high school. Got to Florida Southern College back in August 2017. When I first arrived, I was actually an education major. Surprise, surprise. So, I did wanted to go down the path of being a teacher. I ended up switching to communication as a major, and then brought on psychology because I was like, communication and psychology, they play nice together. Let me do that. So, I rocked that path all the way through. So back calling out 2020, it was actually my one of my roommates, because I was living with him at the time, a friend of mine named Heath Rutledge Jukes. He asked me about King of the Curve because he took the MCAT back then, and he scored 522 out of 528. Like, he did the best in our school's history to date, right? So he asked me about his business, and I was like, oh wait, he's building something, building a solution, right? So cue him, cue another mutual friend of ours, William Kelly, and I. And eventually, he had a couple other folks too that joined initially, but the three of us ended up, forming, thanks to Heath's initiative, King of the Curve, and we launched the first version of it in 2020. And again, it kind of mirrors a lot of the story of, just kind of thinking about what it looks like to access resources, right? Like, for instance, Heath grew up in a blue collar family, right? Like, medicine wasn't in his family. Like, he had to take out a loan from his grandparents, actually, in order to be able to afford the materials to study for the MCAT. Like, that's a reality for people. Not everyone has a rich mom, dad, aunt, uncle, grandma, grandpa that could just be like, "Here, you can go, pay for like 10 hours of private tutoring with Taplin." Like, you don't really have that. It is what you have. So we really want to step in and be like, okay, how can we make a resource that's affordable for people that can actually use? Because one of the things I've realized is you could be like Keith, right? You can be bright, you can be hardworking, you can be brilliant. But if you don't have the money, no one gives a shit. Just pardon my French, it's just the truth, right? If you don't have the money to clear that green plated, lock and key, that gate there, you're stuck, right? And you have to pass the MCAT if you want to get to med school. If you don't do that, I guess you have to consider a different profession. So we really wanted to team up to solve that.
That is so cool. And one thing that I love that you emphasized is that you guys kind of used your own perspective and experiences to really
Mm-hmm.
build out what this can look like. And often people talk about building businesses because they see a gap in something and they want to, be that competition in the
Mm-hmm.
market where people can essentially fulfill that need that was
Mm-hmm.
missing. But a lot of them sometimes don't even have maybe the true perspectives of what they're trying to solve. And I love that it sounds
Mm-hmm.
like you guys did have that in many different ways because there was three of
Mm-hmm.
you. I think it's so interesting also to think about one, you usually hear about a founder or a co-founder, but there's three of you, there's multiple of you.
Hmm.
I would be curious to learn about what have been some of your biggest like challenges or your biggest, I guess, wins as a team and what it's like
Hmm.
working with two other founders to create something amazing.
Fantastic. Yeah, I think one of our biggest successes as a team was really just getting an initial product to market. Because when we launched King of the Curve back in 2020, you have to remember, fam, this was COVID era, right?
Mm,
Like, and if you know anything about being in a startup or being a business, most businesses, most of them fail within the first 5 years, right?
yeah.
So like failure is the norm when it comes to building a company, not the exception, right? So the fact that we saw that immediate demand, like literally the first week when he launched the app, I was like, we were like, oh, oh, there's a new people like this, right? People are really interested in this. So, we worked on building it and building it and building it, right? And it ended up getting people to expand the team that, have come and really contributed to building KOTC to what it is today, right? So I think that's one of the biggest wins. I think another biggest win was actually getting to work with all the people, right, that have joined the KOTC team. Because I know that, I have been relatively fortunate and privileged to be part of this co-founder team, right? But I would be remiss if I don't get to mention the awesome people I get to work with every single day to help build this product, right? That have put their blood, sweat, and tears into building the platform, whether it be through the sales department. We're working on an MCAT course right now as we speak, building that, which has been a multi-month long endeavor, or, running product interviews where we're talking to customers and being like, hey, what do you like about this? What do you don't like about this? Or even, I was actually at OSU. What was at OSU back in October, actually, like just flying out and just talking to student clubs and being like, hey, let's just talk about the MCAT and how we can get you prepared and how Team Curve can help you. Like those things, those experiences I get to have with the various coworkers I do work with, it's pretty cool. So
That's
absolutely.
amazing. Oh, and I love that you really take the time to also shout out all of the other people that have put in that work, whether they are a co founder or not. And I love that you're also getting to just, go and talk to other student clubs and say, hey, let's just have a normal interaction. You don't have to
Hmm.
hear me speak on a panel in order to get access to me. You don't
Hmm.
have to see, you know what I mean? Of like
Yeah,
there
exactly.
is that personalization where you can have that
Mhm.
one-to-one connection, which is extremely valuable in getting to not only optimize your product for what it's meant to do, or just seeing, what else is out there in the market that maybe we could add in what they're looking for. And
Mhm.
that's so cool just to hear you getting to do that. And I know, like, you guys, this is not my first time talking to AP. So getting to hear how they speak about their work and not only getting to speak about people around them, you guys really are such a people centric company in that
Mhm.
way where you guys really, really take pride in being able to have those connections with people. And it makes me
Mhm.
almost think about some of the connections and how you guys have been building the business. Building a business is not easy. Building
Mhm.
anything is not easy. And I'm sure there are some things that if you were to do it all over again, there are some things that you would change. So I'm curious to know about, what have been some of your biggest eye openers as you guys have been expanding and building this from the ground up?
Oh my gosh, I think one of the biggest eye openers. I know many people have said this. Many smart, intelligent people for my time have said this, right? It is so important to invest in the right people to build this, right? The startup game is a long game, right? This is not in days or weeks or months. This is measured in years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to bring, whether it's a co-founder relationship, whether it's a vendor that you're working with, whether it's your employees, your contractors, whoever it is, you want to make sure that you know who you're bringing in, right? And that you trust them, not just for the expertise, well, if they're people, like they know how to work with people and they got that character to work with them. So that's one of the biggest things that we learned as a business, especially for first time founders, because Heath, Will, and I, we're all first time founders. Like we didn't have a previous business we built beforehand, right? So this is like our first entrepreneurship project together. So it's like, I was like, oh, wow. Yeah, we really should have paid attention to when we made that one hire, right? So it's just like, a lot of the things that you would learn there. And I think another thing that we learned as well is just the idea of being willing to try new things, A, and on the flip side, knowing when to call it quits, right? We've had various initiatives over King of the Curve that, we've spent, months on and realized, maybe this needs to evolve. Maybe this is different than what it is right now, right? And being open to pivoting, right? It's kind of that idea of sunk cost. It's like, oh my gosh, I put so much time and money and energy into this. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want to pivot. I don't want to leave it. But it's like, does this really make sense to pursue it, right? Let's step back and like really think about this. Can we evolve into something else? Can we take what we learned from this project and apply it to this other project here? Like, let's see how we can scrap this and use this as something that we can guide us into the future. So, learning how to engage in experiments, number one, but also being able to know when to call an experiment over and move on to
Mhm.
something else is very important as well.
Yeah. It's extremely important also when you are a leader in any right, knowing when do we figure out what a new strategy needs to do? Like, when do we think about, okay, we might need to think about something different, but also get people re energized with the fact of like, okay, we're about to do something different because that
Mm-hmm.
same idea that you said of like, we just spent months on this. Question mark, question mark, question mark. What do you mean? Like, we're about to
I was
pivot
like,
to some.
exactly, right?
Okay, because the opportunity cost and that sunk cost there, not only just in time but in energy and like mental energy for people to just switch from, okay, this is not what we thought it was going to be, and then really trying to rail people up to kind of keep that same momentum as you're going in a completely
Mm-hmm.
different or even slightly different direction can be tough.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's
Whew.
just something you got to keep in mind of. So yeah, I would say those things. I think for me, well, I think about all the years of being King Curve. There's one habit. I know it sounds super corny and super cheesy, and people are like, "Oh, this is so overhyped." That has helped me keep afloat. I want to take a guess what that is.
Oh my goodness, keep you afloat.
Mm-hmm.
Something that has kept you afloat. Time blocking? I have no idea.
No, time blocking is useful. Don't get me wrong, but I am a writer, actually, believe it or not. So one of my favorite things to do, and I've been doing it really, like really seriously since about what May 2016, I'd give it or take, is me journaling. So like it has evolved over the years. So good old Samsung Galaxy S9 tablet and an S Pen, right? And I'm going to town, right? It has been honestly, and I mean this with no exaggeration or hyperbole, it has helped me stay 6 feet above the ground and not six
Mhm.
feet below the ground, right? Because I have struggled with mental health issues back when I was a teenager in my early 20s, right? Those have been things for me, including the big elephant in the room suicide ideation. That was a thing, right? So being able to have the page as a way to vent and process and record and archive things and pattern recognition and be like, oh, that's happening. That's also happening. That's also happening. Oh, hey, Andrew, are we paying attention to what's happening here? Like, oh,
Mm.
right. Yeah, there has been times, and it really is like that Steve Jobs quote that he gave during his Stanford convention speech comes to my mind. It's like when you look backwards, you're able to connect all the dots. And now looking backwards from like, 2026 AP, from like 2017 AP or 2020 AP or even 2023 AP, and go, oh.
Mm.
Yeah, Andrew, you missed this flag, didn't handle that conflict. Yeah, this is why we're here or not. You understand that your self-concept landed you here, correct? I'm like, yeah, I understand that now. I didn't understand that back in 2020, but I understand that now. So now it's on me and my responsibility to ask myself the question, how can I fix that? Right?
Mhm.
So that's journaling has given me that power, if you will. So
Yeah.
it's one of my things I do believe in, and one of the things that I'm just like, hey, I think y'all should do it. I'll be happy to teach y'all how.
Yeah, okay, we'll come back to that. Um,
Yes.
First thing I want to say is one, I'm so happy that you're here and you're still here with us. I mean, you have done so much just great stuff, not even just within your company, but I know, and I've told you this personally, but you really are such a big light. And I'm very, very grateful that I've had the privilege to get to meet you, but also get to literally sit aside you and
Hmm.
get to learn a little bit more about you. So I'm very, very grateful that you are
Thank
still
you. Thank
here,
you.
very honored that you're still here.
Hmm.
And I can definitely co sign on journaling. I can say, from my perspective, maybe like something that we kind of see within the Black community is that, sometimes the mental health struggles don't get paid attention to. They do not get paid attention to.
Girl, Sam.
Um, or they are viewed as something else. So like, oh, you just need to do this and then you'll get over that. And for me,
Hmm.
it was like, oh, talking about my emotions on paper, that's corny. But guys, it's
Yeah.
really not corny at all. I still journal to this day. And like once I got from that,
Cosign.
yeah, when I got from that, quite literally that selfish place of thinking, that self sabotaging way that really kept me in a space where I wasn't fully able to see myself. It was literally
Mhm.
me against me. In journaling and being like, what am I journaling about? What am I even writing about? Now
Mhm.
it's so freeing to just write
Mhm.
it and see it. And it even made me a better professional for what I do now, because
Mhm.
I am also less cautious when it even comes to me brainstorming ideas and me limiting myself of like, what can I put on this piece of paper? The worst thing that can happen is I put it on the piece of paper. Like, that's literally it.
Exactly.
And that
Exactly.
really, really helped me. So I can completely 100% agree
Mhm.
with journaling being a really, really good tactic that people should just keep up with and have as a practice, whether that is personally or professionally. Like, in any sense, it should be there.
No, absolutely, 100%. It's just like, for me personally, the journal was the first place I ever came out to. Actually, like dead ass, like 2020. What was it? No, June 24th, 2019 was the day I actually finally admitted to myself that I was gay. In my journal, I remember writing it, and I was like, "What?" Shit. Like I knew for years, but like I went back and forth with myself, being like, "No, I got it twisted. This can't be right." Nah, because I was raised Christian, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
my parents are Jamaican, right? So it's just like, no, not feeling this. No, it can't be this. I'm like, no, actually, actually, I was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Okay,
Oh
and
my
then, we
goodness.
went on from there. So it's like, it really has seen me through my highest points and my lowest points in my life. That's why I literally swear by it. I know it's so overhyped, and people are like, oh my gosh, we heard journaling a gajillion times. Yes, and there's a reason why you hear about it a gajillion times. There's a reason
Mm-hmm.
why. So, yeah.
Yeah. There are a lot of quotes that I've been hearing recently that people are like, I hate when people say this because everybody always says that. And now, like, having people around me now where it's like they're saying the same things and they're like, yeah, I used to
Mm-hmm.
think that too, but now
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the other side and I'm like, I don't have any
Mm-hmm.
better
Mm-hmm.
advice to give you
Like,
right now. It's like you I see it a little differently now.
mm-hmm.
It's really good to hear, especially that like these foundational lessons, they're foundations for a reason because they help you build
Mm-hmm.
onto who you are. And like you said, that pattern recognition is extremely important in understanding how can you connect the dots. And that enables you in the future to be able to connect the dots in so many other ways. And I
Mm-hmm.
want to kind of explore a little bit more after this little journaling question that I got, of how you've been able to connect the dots as a leader and a founder, nonetheless as a founder of color. But let's go back to the journaling. I'm curious. Tell me, like, do you have a popular journaling prompt that you do? Like, how do you set yourself? Is every
Oh,
journaling day different? Like,
oh
give us
my
a little bit
gosh.
of insight into that.
This is a great question. Oh my gosh, I could literally expand on this. But for me, it's a mix, right? One of the beautiful things about journaling is that technically there are no rules. The
Mm-hmm.
only thing is you gotta write. That's it. Or if you don't want to write, audio recording, video journals are all things, but the only thing you gotta do is produce. Now, I don't care how you produce it. If you have a structured prompt, which you could do, like you pose yourself a question and then you can just like respond to that question, or you could just be stream of conscious, be like, hey, today, like if you're familiar with the concept of morning pages from Julia Cameron in The Artist's Way, if you also sound very familiar. So like get and like I remember that she talks about in the book, get a blank piece of paper, handwrite, right? You're not typing this. It's important that she would specify that, right? Handwrite 3 pages, stream of consciousness, just whatever comes up. And you start realizing as you write through and you write without stopping, things that you don't consciously think about start coming up like, oh.
Mm,
It's like you turn on the faucet, and it's like the clean water starts coming out first, and then you start seeing some gunk come out there, and it's like, oh,
mm,
there's the gunk. Yeah, my brain wasn't going there today, but I guess we're here today. I guess I had to clean that out, right?
mm,
And I really do think there is that element of just giving yourself what I like to call vitamin W, if you will. Vitamin W being white space, right? It's a new vitamin the scientific community has not caught on to yet, but I call it vitamin W because I think in our world, I think Amaya, you would agree to this, is that especially in our generation, Gen Z, or I would say probably the last generation in human history that's grown up in both an analog and a digital world.
mm.
And now anybody probably the lower half of our generation is still in like K-12 and especially like Gen Alpha and also Gen Beta right behind them,
Mm-hmm.
they'll know of just the digital world. They won't know a world of like physical journals or going outside or these things. They'll just know, hey, there's TikTok. Hey, there's a smartphone. Hey, there's an
Mm-hmm.
iPad. And it's just like, um, fam, I'm not a Luddite, like I
Mm,
promise you. But like low key, I'm kind of concerned, and I know I don't have kids either, but like I'm low key kind of concerned. Like,
mm-hmm.
are the kids okay? Like, do we want to be doing this? 'Cause I'm like, I don't think that we should. You know,
Mm-hmm.
like we should. We should show them the joys of analog life. Like that should be a thing,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that's what I'd say to that, right? But I think getting back to like the main drilling question, it's just like stream of consciousness is great. A series of questions just to guide yourself through it. Like I remember, I think last year I did a piece Scrabble therapy, and then people were like, "What is Scrabble therapy, Andrew?" It's like think of the questions a therapist would ask you, right? Like any therapist, ask them of yourself and respond to them. Like,
Mm,
and just be honest about it. It's you in the journal. It's literally just you. No one else is gonna see it. It's just you, and just respond to it. And I promise you, the level of clarity you can get out of that if you commit to that exercise, you'll start to realize, oh, oh, yeah, I guess I really didn't deal with my shit. Um,
mm-hmm.
so like, I really should do that. I think, as a final thought for that, I honestly would just say, again, do what works best for you, right? It don't gotta be every day like how I do because I write on the daily, right? But whether it be structured journal prompts, awesome sauce, do it. Whether you're more of a stream of conscious person, go ahead and do that. I would recommend that I too, because I do that as well. But the most important thing is that you write. And I promise you, it is one of those things that not only can you see it immediately, especially if you
Mm-hmm.
hit it right, but long term you'll start to see, oh wow, I really have expressed that I'm doing the same things over and over again, and I'm feeling the same ways over and over again. And I'm like, do I actually want to feel this way and think this way? And if not, what am I willing to do differently?
Mm-hmm.
And you start asking yourself those questions now that you have that data in front of you.
Mm. Sounds like you need to add a little personal development module to okay, look, these questions, okay, these introspective questions.
Hmm.
And I agree with every single one of them. As someone who also has a therapist who has routinely clocked me in the past, I'm like, "Ooh." And they always have to remind me, remember, I'm asking these questions from information that you're giving me. I'm not getting it anywhere else. So you can, and I'm like, you know what? I really can't be mad at you for doing your job. You know what I mean? Like I've never been
Hmm.
upset with my therapist ever.
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
in the way that she phrased it of like you're noticing this stuff that I'm asking because I'm
Hmm.
getting it from you. You are the source of truth that I have. Now here I am to be another source of truth for you just with a question mark at the end instead of a period.
Damn.
I
I've
know.
never heard it like that, but I'm like, girl, wow.
I said, hold on. Hold
Hold
on.
on, you didn't hold my hand first. Like I didn't. Like you just gonna drop that truth bomb on me? You gonna just drop that and just walk
Mm-mm.
away from me? It's like, what was this? Like what?
I when I say like I was flabbergasted, I didn't even know what to say to her at that point because we were having so many different conversations. But in
Hmm.
that moment when she said that, I was like, it really clicked. She really made me think of validity in a whole new way for myself of like, how do we start recognizing things are valid? How do I start da 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 da? And especially when you're early in your career, or even when you're coming into yourself as a person, and that starts from when you're a
Hmm.
teenager all the way up into the rest of your life because things are always different. But
Hmm.
that concept there, where she was like, you have to be able to fully be able to express yourself for others to even be able to help you no matter what, essentially. I from that moment on, I was like, okay, T, let me lock in. And it's
Hmm.
it's so important that you said. I love that you said vitamin W as a white space too, because we need. Like I was talking about this in another episode of the podcast with actually an environmental science student, And she was talking about the concept of being bored and how important it is to be
Mm-hmm.
bored. And I think for me, as someone who has kind of just gotten off of their um, personal development guru, always listening to podcasts, always listening to books, because that's the only
Mm-hmm.
way that I think that I can improve, and not giving myself that space in the day to where now I've just read a book that's all about being able to conquer busyness and creativity by leaving the white space for yourself, the wedges for yourself, the openings for that writing and that
Mm-hmm.
honesty with yourself that we
Mm-hmm.
somehow always find a way to wriggle around
No, no,
because
no,
we're
no, no, no,
too
no.
busy, right?
Uh-uh.
Which is keeping us slightly dishonest with
Yes, sir.
ourselves to the point where we
Mm-hmm.
are continuously just reinforcing the same cycle that we're trying to get out of.
Mm-hmm.
Your concept on journaling is needed. Yeah.
Okay, random
Hmm.
question, slash random thought, right? For me, when I think about journaling, I think one of my favorite video game franchises. I know. Y'all visited my LinkedIn. There are banners of Pokemon. There are Pokeball banners literally on my LinkedIn page. So I am a Pokemon fan. I've been playing for 20 years. But my other favorite video game franchise is the Persona franchise, right? And in
Oh.
particular, like Persona 4 Golden was the second Persona game I ever played. I first played Persona 3 FES, and then I played Persona 4 Golden, right? And in the concept, if you're ever familiar with the work of Carl Gustav Jung and his work on shadow selves and like what the shadow is, right? Those mm, deemed inappropriate or not repressed, I want to say, but like more of those hidden away thoughts, feelings, emotions that people are like, don't want to deal with that. Push that down, lock that away, call it a day, right? I really think about journaling as an act of shadow work, if you will, of being
Mm,
able to go in and be like, what do I actually think and feel about these things? So I feel
mm-hmm,
like a lot of us, myself included, from my personal history of doing this for like 10 years, is that one of the things that messed us up a lot is that we're not willing to do that shadow work of being like, okay, fam, what do we actually think and feel about this? Like, don't give the PC answer. Don't give the nice PR response there. Like, what do you actually think and feel about this, right? Because when you don't do that, what ends up happening, right? That shadow comes out in all the wrong ways, right? It comes out in the way of, oh gosh, I feel like I'm people pleasing a lot, or I feel like I have to be, numbing myself out a lot, whether it
mm-hmm,
be pick your way of numbing, whether it's Netflix or with food or even porn or whatever. Like pick the way, right? Because we have a lot of ways of doing it, right? So it's just like when you don't deal with your inner stuff, that comes out
mm-hmm,
in one way, shape, or form, whether it's going to affect yourself negatively and or affect your relationship with other people negatively, right? Until you sit down and be honest with yourself and be like, okay, make that like I think of the Carl Gustav Jung quote, and that's one of my favorite quotes ever, right? If you do not make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you'll call it fate, right? So it's kind of like if you do not make those patterns of behavior what you think and believe and why conscious, aka you're aware of this, the source, why it is, what it is, it will be like, oh my gosh, my life got up here. It's not fair. I'm directed by the. No, you were not directed by the gods. No, we just did not do that vitamin. We did not take that vitamin W, put that pill in, right, to do the work to uncover why you're feeling the way that you're feeling, right? So until you do that, we're going to. I remember my sister, again, wise woman, love my sister, right? And she was telling me about this idea of like, you will continue to relive the lessons until they are learned.
yep,
And in my personal life and my professional life, I am in that. Oh, we're gonna. It's like Groundhog Day. Have you ever seen the movie with Bill Murray? Back I think the 90s, I believe, 80s or 90s movie. One of my favorite movies. Love Bill Murray. As an actor, definitely. Like you will continue to re-experience the same thing over and over again. And it's like you're not consciously wanting to do this, right? Like nobody consciously wants to recreate suffering over and over again, right? But it's like you'll keep learning this over and over again until you realize the lesson. And then, like the
mm-hmm,
end of the movie of Groundhog Day, you'll finally be like, "Oh, the loop's gone."
yeah,
But you have to give yourself the space and the time of yourself to do that, and you have to be honest with yourself, right? No matter how messy or nasty or like mucky it gets,
mm,
right? Like you have to. It is for not only your individual well-being, but the well-being of also by proxy anyone that's connected to you.
That is so true. That is so true. And I feel like that gives us a great segue into how you have grown as a founder. You know, I'm sure
Hmm.
there's so much that you have
Hmm.
experienced as a founder and who you were when you started as a founder to who you are now, being Forbes 30 under 30,
Hmm.
2025 VC backed founder now.
Hmm.
What have been like some of your, I guess, biggest breakthroughs or how you see yourself now as a founder and a leader?
Oh my gosh. One of the biggest things I'd say is this: you cannot outperform your self concept. Period. Point blank. End of the story. Drop mic. And we was like, what do you mean by that, Andrew? Your self concept is simply what you think about yourself. How do you talk to yourself? Do you think that you're intelligent or think that you're a bag of rocks? Do you think that you're
Mm,
strong or do you think that you're weak? How are you talking to yourself? How do you think about yourself? Because I promise you, your self concept, that will start attracting situations and people into your life that will resonate with your self concept. So you have a very
mm,
low self concept. Guess who the kind of people will be knocking on your door to be in your life? Right? You got the people being like, hey, your quote unquote friends, right? Your manipulators, right? You're calling those people in, not consciously, not that you want to. But again, when you have that very low self concept there, it's like it's kind of that
mm,
idea of wanting to bring in anybody in. And it's like, no, you want to get to a point where it's like, I know who I am and I'm okay with myself that I don't, mm-mm, you stay over there. I'm gonna keep I know who I am. And here's the thing, right? We all have ourselves at the end of the day, right? We gotta live with ourselves 24/7, 365, right? So if my relationship with me ain't good and you'd be the cause of that, I'm like, no, 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 no. I gotta live with me. That's not negotiable. Right? I can't divorce myself, but I can divorce you though. So I'm like, I'm gonna need you to
mm-hmm,
exit stage left post haste, right? That's one of the things I've learned because it's like your self concept will set the barometer. It's like a thermostat, if you will, right? It will set the barometer to what you think is possible in life. If you say that you're weak, if you say that you're dumb, are you going to learn anything new? If you say that you are anxious, are you going to try to associate with people? If you say that you are weak, are you going to try to get strong? Like, if you keep saying this shit to yourself over and over and over and over again, you're going to find yourself acting and believing in ways that will repel opportunities from you. So it's like you gotta again, it's a gradual process, not a one and done. And I'm again, my self concept is in a hell of a lot of work, right? It's not perfect at all, but like you gotta work on that actively, right? And again, it's that tool that you need to get you going. Because again, you are with you every
mm,
single waking moment of the day and night until the day that you die and leave this world. You are with you. So if you're not feeling good about you, something's up. That's going to affect every single relationship that you have, whether you like it or not. And I promise you, I have lived it. And it's just like, you gotta fix that self concept, man.
mm.
Gotta change those beliefs about yourself.
Hey, y'all heard it here first. Start thinking about it. I need y'all to get to work. Pause this right now. Actually, I'm kidding. But after this, for sure, think about what that looks like for you. And I know we all have those moments where, we could be a little down bad. Some things might be happening and you know, it's always okay to validate yourself and feel those emotions, but don't sit in them because then
Hmm.
that is creating beasts that you cannot bury easily. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And they
Hmm.
start to build something else that
Hmm.
you will unconsciously essentially help accumulate more on top of that you're not trying to do. So I completely agree with that. I'm also a little curious, I guess, about more of your founder routine. Is there what keeps you sharp now that you are in a space of, expansion, in that space of you have been recognized, right? And that
Hmm.
you are now in a space of basically evolution for where you
Hmm.
are. So That's one thing from a mental standpoint and an experiential
Hmm.
standpoint that has been very monumental for you as a founder. Now, what
Hmm.
keeps you on your day to day? What do some of your habits look like? What is your routine that keeps you sharp, that keeps you up?
I think for me, for keeping me sharp, um, again, I would say writing for sure. And I was like, oh my gosh, Andrew, you use writing for everything? Yes, I use writing for everything, fam. I think one of our famous writers, Joan Didion, said that I do not know what I'm thinking until I write it down. Right? Like I do not know what I'm thinking about literally anything, whether it's myself or something going on in the world or something going on in this business until I write it down. I'm like, oh, well, I'll be okay. So I guess we should do something about that, right? And even like on the business perspective, like I just before I got on this podcast with you, I was writing a colleague of mine a letter, right? Like I will handwrite letters. Again, when you have a tablet and have an S Pen, you can do some things, right? So I will literally write a letter by hand, like I am the 18th freaking century. Yes, I know, fight me. Um, and like mind map and just be like, hey, this is what I think about XYZ. Here's like a mind map of what my brain is thinking, which can be really kind of messy and complex at times because my mind's like that. Oops. ADHD brain question mark? I don't know, but definitely neurospicy. Um, but I'll just be like, hey, this is how I'm thinking about XYZ. Like, how are you thinking about this? So, like, I don't know, guys. If y'all haven't got anything from me yet, writing is my Swiss Army knife. Like, it's coming out to solve something. It's like, like, let's flick you each tool. So, I would not be here professionally and personally without it. So, it's just how we do. It's what we do.
Mm. Hey, if it works, keep it, right?
There you go.
I love it. And I'm so grateful that you've also just gotten to share even more of just the depths of what writing can do. I'm not
Hmm.
going to say writing is a lost art, but in some ways, there are some things that we need to pick back up on, whether that is
Yes.
handwriting
Yes.
letters, cursive. There's so many other things, but for lack of better words, those are some good
Hmm.
ones that are super, super important. And I'm just curious to also kind of think about like as you're now writing this new chapter for yourself
Hmm.
and what's to come forth, is there anything that you are looking forward to in the ed tech space, just in general?
I think for me, when I think about the ed tech space, I'm really looking forward to the idea of kind of using this as a moment to really think about what, why are we here? And I know it's kind of like a, what do you mean? Why are you asking? Because a heady level existential question right now, right? Because the way that I see it, right, as a black cisgender neurospicy gay person in the United States, I'm looking at this and I go, what is education, especially ed tech to accomplish, right? I've in again these 6 years, I've seen a litany of AI tools hit the market. Obviously, ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, all these other things. But we're seeing the research come out, right? What are we seeing? We're seeing students cheat with ChatGPT, right? Go in, write my essay, you know, take out the ChatGPT input. Some students will sit here and like dead ass copy paste this and send it to their teacher and professor and be like, y'all really don't think I'm gonna see this shit? Like what? Right? So there's the cheating aspect on that front, right? And it's kind of like getting to the root of that, like why, right? Like yes, we're upset with the behavior, but we need to inquire as to why, right? And then also again, with the larger AI market, people engaging AI, like AI friends, for instance, AI partners, like AI boyfriends and girlfriends, things like that, and thinking, right? Why are we here? What are we accomplishing with A ed tech and B education as a whole, right? Are we really committed to accessibility, right? Are we really committed to education? And honestly, again, an ontological question: what does education mean? What does education mean in the 21st century, right? I think about where we're at in the cultural moment in the United States, and I think about all the things that are happening right now. Again, as Black and Brown folk, this is not new. This is not the first time the things in the United States, from ICE to Renee Good to Keith Porter to Alex Preddy, this is not the first time. Even Liam Ramos as well. These are not the first time the United States has done these things. But how many of us in K-12 or undergrad were actually educated about these issues? Not many, if I have to be honest with you, right? And it's kind of like, sure, we can focus on reading and writing arithmetic, and those are very important, don't get me wrong. But if we're not educating the character of our students, if we're not educating them in historical literacy, so we're not repeating the dangerous ideologies and mistakes of the past, what are we really doing here? Because I don't know about you, Maya, but I find it rather disturbing that there are, you know, kids in K-12 that I'm hearing through the likes of, Medium and all, like people writing about these things online, like they know who Andrew Tate is. They know who Andrew Tate is and what he stands for. And I'm like, oh no. Like, what are we doing about that? Like, what are we doing about people that are seeing pro-Nazi sentiments around at that age and not realizing what those ideologies lead to ultimately, what it did, not even a full century ago, mind you, right? Like all of these things, I kind of go and pose again to ed tech and education as a whole. Why are we here,
Mm,
right? Why are we here? What do we want to do? Is it about, filling up our brains with so much, knowledge and getting, again, whether it's me in the IB program or AP or AICE or getting students to those programs, like, what are we here for, right? Because it's like,
mhm.
I feel like we're not really hitting as we should, in all
Yeah.
honesty.
Yeah. We don't have access or resources in the way that I think even when we were growing up that we had in the access to information, in the ability to be able to view and find hidden history, being able to effectively use your own critical thinking and your own literacy to form your own
Mhm.
opinions and what you can deduce from that, and being able to, like you said earlier, and this is an interesting kind of parallel of, you're writing and having that pattern recognition. Now we're reading and still having that pattern recognition and looking at what people have written, and viewing that is a great point, I think, of just things are different. Like the educational sphere is just completely different in even what people are graded on, what we consider passing, what we consider okay for students to have the knowledge on, while we still don't have even some of the foundational things where people are like, where do people sign up to learn about like their taxes and credit scores and all these other things, or, you know,
Girl,
foundational economical,
oh my gosh,
all of
yes.
that stuff, to
Hmm.
where it does feel like not even that it feels, there is a rollback in some way where we are not gaining new things, but it's more so like we're
Hmm.
trying to preserve what's already existed. And that's seeming like it's quite difficult with everything that we have going on. So I completely understand.
Yeah, it's just the world. And I know again we're in our 20s in my but like the world has changed so much since the
Mm,
2000s. Like if you would have told us that we would be living in the time of the internet becoming a thing, social media becoming a thing, and generative AI becoming a thing, all within 20 years, I would have been like, nah, you tripping. And I'm like, oh no,
flying
we're here.
cars. Flying
We're
cars is
here.
next.
Back to the Future called it. We tried in 2015. Unfortunately, 2015 came and went. Sorry to Marty McFly, that didn't happen. One of my favorite movie trilogies of all time. And it's just, dang. But it's just like, I wouldn't have imagined we would have been here. And now it's like, with one relation to AI, we're dealing with, I would say, a societally fundamentally breaking force,
Yeah.
right? And people go like, what do you mean by that, Andrew? And I go, we have the potential now to create deepfakes, which is already an issue and are being used in illicit and harmful ways. We have the potential to basically tear the fabric of reality from fiction, right? Because
Mm,
you can deepfake anyone doing anything, right? We now have the ability to be able to also have personalized tutoring as well, right? So for students
mm-hmm.
who haven't been able to access, like again, if you're neurodivergent or you're low income and get resources, ChatGPT Pro subscription or any Pro subscription to like any major AI tool. I use Mistral AI. Just moved to Mistral, which is which is a French company, I believe. It's like 10, 15, $20 a month, and like the things you can learn if you know how to prompt it well, right? I would say it's like it's a lot. Like I've seen people use AI as a meta learning tool, as an autodidactic tool. Like I know I've had conversation with ChatGPT in which I'm learning about Black history that I haven't been taught in K-12 or undergrad, right? And it's just like I want to learn about these things. I want to learn about, resistance movements and how these things looked like back then. Because it's just like I feel like the playbooks have been written to understand these moments that we're living in right now. And it's just again, as you mentioned, that hidden history, where are you finding this information? How do you find it? Right? And how do you put this in a way that makes sense to you? Right?
Yeah. I mean, you said it best. I really can't even think of anything that I would add to that besides it is almost like I can't figure out what the like the space race. It's almost
Mm-hmm.
like a reading race right now
Mm-hmm.
of or a resource race of what we have, and not necessarily what we're trying to claim, but what we're trying to again preserve and what we're
Mm-hmm.
trying to have things remain concrete as they are
Mm-hmm.
of the history that we know, of the things
Mm-hmm.
that we know have happened,
Mm-hmm.
and keeping it that way versus
Mm-hmm.
having anything altered because we know how that can affect people not only from a physical generational standpoint, but literally later down the line and knowing history can repeat itself or knowing that if we don't give people the information to where they can psychologically develop or connect with this information, whether that comes from their ancestors or an historical event that affected their ancestors, so on and so forth, what that would lead to later down the line when you really aren't connected to your culture in that way. No
Mm-hmm.
matter
Mm-hmm.
no matter who you are, understanding
Mm-hmm.
the culture of where you come from is extremely important in creating the societal norms that we see today, but also creating the societal culture that we will put up with tomorrow. And we're kind of
Correct.
seeing that in real time. And as we are just having all these conversations about all these important issues that are happening, whether that's in change, in our environment, in our culture, in technology, everything that is essentially kind of coming together to have its own intersectional places.
Mm-hmm.
As we're thinking about these intersectional challenges, we also know that joy is another form of resistance in terms of thinking about the intersectional places of hope where we can find it. So I'm curious to think about just what has been bringing you joy, whether that's as a founder, as someone who's in ed tech, as someone who is just another person. What have been things that have been bringing you joy lately as we start to round out this episode?
I think honestly, one of the things that brings me joy is really connecting with people, right? And again, plug for writing. I write letters, right? I will sit there and I will handwrite letters to people. Like my partner and I, we write letters to each other actually on the weekly, right? So there's constant letters going back and forth, right? And like I'll write letters to people and just be like, hey, this one thinking about X, Y, Z, or like hey, I wanted to like even for New Year's, like for New Year's year 2020, 2026 of this will pass, like I have a list of people that I want to handwrite to. I know it's like February, and it's February 11th. It was like I have a list of people that I want to handwrite to. Actually, you're on that list of mine actually, but I haven't gotten back to you yet. But it's like there are people I want to like write out. I'm like I don't want to send you a generic like Happy New Year text. I'm like no, like
Mm,
these are my peeps. Like I want to give them something special that they can hold on and be like, hey, 5 years later, like, hey, look what AP sent me like 5 years ago for like a Happy New Year and stuff like that. So I wanted to give them something special. So currently working on producing all of that, but I think that, but also connecting with people, right? And I know it's kind of like, people like why? I'm like, look, I get it, I understand. I can be a little bit of an ass. I'm gonna call that. I'm gonna own that, right? But it's like for this moment, especially in human history that we're at, especially living in the United States, what's happening, and I'm a firm believer of this, we will not survive individually. We will survive this collectively, right? There's no ifs, no ands, no buts about it, right? We need people. I will I will stand on this, I will die on this flag, on this hill, Amaya, and I'll get hate for this. I do not believe in the concept of self-made. I hate that phrase. I hate it so much because I am a believer no matter who was in my life or who was in my life, friend, foe, hurt me, helped me, whoever, they've helped me get to where I am today.
mm,
Facts,
mm,
right? I would not be there without their assistance, their guidance, and what they taught me, whether they know it or not, right? And all the people that are laboring right now to make the quality of life that I have possible. The people, I don't know, driving those trucks from Amazon, to deliver to your doorstep, or the people that are providing you electricity, or the people that, especially major cities, that are cleaning your streets, right? Your garbage men, your garbage people, right? It's like it takes people of all kinds to keep this thing called society running. And it's like I feel like we forget that in the modern
Mm.
age because of, again, convenience. All we see
Mm.
is, oh, I can go on here, go on, couple clicks, click, click, boom, DoorDash comes in, lifts here, but there's a human being behind that. And it's like we can't sit here and be Grinches
Yeah.
and mean to people. Like we can't do that, right? We got to work together. Like at the end of the day, we're 8 billion people on this hunk of rock floating through space. Like we got to find a way to get along. We have to,
Mm.
guys. And I just like, what are we doing? What are we doing?
No, yeah. What are we doing? And I love that you again just showing your people-centric nature, which I already knew this, and how much you really care about deeply connecting and cultivating spaces with people, clearly by what you're doing, but also getting to be one of those people where I even love how you send long text messages. My mom and I were talking about this the other day where I was like, I love how AP sends text messages because they are so thoughtful, so personalized, so responsive, and just I can even hear, you can't really hear like the tone from people's texts, but you can hear the tone from AP's text, okay? Of just you bring that, and I think we need more of that, of more intentional methods of connecting with people,
Hmm.
even in the ways that we modernly communicate. There is more that we can be doing. And that is going to be the creative challenge, that we will kind of start to see of what that looks like. And I think, for one, you have definitely cracked the code of making it feel more warm and cozy and connective, but just seeing how people do that now. We're seeing a lot of community spaces and things like and events and all these networking opportunities, and like really, like I feel like the word community now is starting to feel like a commodity in some respect, but it's
Hmm.
really seeing kind of what does that look like in the survival of the fittest, when it comes to what
Hmm.
community really embodies and how people relate to it now more than ever, and what that looks like from a modern space. But communities have always been a thing way back in
Correct.
the analog days, especially as someone who studied
Hmm.
anthropology. I really understand. So it's
Uh-huh.
going to be, I'm curious and seeing what that's like. And I think you, for one, have created spaces where we can see the success in what that can look like. So I hope other people, y'all need to tune in with AP after this. If y'all want some
Hmm.
classes on how to connect with people in the modern world to where it really feels like I can't even think of another way besides really like your favorite warm drink or a nice warm hug in
Yes.
really feeling like
I,
that, where you feel like your communication is so important and full of energy and vibrancy. Connect with them for real.
I feel like for me, the I think the final question I'll pose, right, for me is this. How do we rescue ourselves from soundbite culture? And I'm going to throw out a name that maybe sounds familiar to our audience, maybe not, but Neil Postman, who wrote Amusing Ourselves to Death, right? Who warned us about what happens when we move away from a print-based culture, that we're learning our information through newspapers, and books, and now to a digital-based culture where we're learning information through TikTok, through news outlets, right? Like what happens? How do we, benefit and suffer honestly from that? And I feel like modernists, especially the TikTok generation, right? We live in a soundbite culture. We're used to communicating in sound bites. We're
Mm,
used to having conversations, but what we're doing is like we're on our phone tapping away, talking to somebody else, or we're used to like, hey, I'll send a text to somebody, and they'll text me back like 3, 4 hours later, and I'm like, what? Or be like, hey, like someone's just trying to have your attention, like want to have their like full undivided attention, but it's like we're so
mm,
used to being in soundbite culture, and of course, when you think about how this tech has rewired our brains from a neuroplastic standpoint, it's kind of like our brains are neurologically becoming more and more dispensed to only understanding sound bites, right? Like, fam, I'm not gonna say I'm a savant or anything in terms of like reading, but like I've never read War and Peace. I've never read any Michael Proust, like the classic literature, like there are volumes long that people know of that they're reading back, century, 2 centuries ago. That's like how many people can do that nowadays?
mm.
In all seriousness, I'm like I want to work up to doing that, but like it'll be a challenge for me, honestly, just being in this era. So it's kind of
Mm,
like how to rescue ourselves from soundbite culture. And I also ask this because I feel like the relationship quality suffers as a result, right? Because it's like for me, and I've said this before, like privately, but like I've gotten to the age 26, 27, like I can't really do shallow relationships with people, if you will. Like I want to get to know you as a person. Like I'm not like, oh, we'll just grab drinks and that's just that. I'm like, no, nah. Tell me the hopes and fears and where you've been, where you want to go, and where we're at now. Like tell me the tea. Like I am down for that kind of level of conversation. Like I want to get to know you on that level, right? But I feel like when we're in soundbite culture, that level of depth just gets lost and becomes more and more rare. And it's
mm-hmm.
like, no. Like I posed to y'all this question, like how many of y'all actually know the people that are in your life? How many of you actually know them? Actually deeply
Uh,
know them. No matter how long you've known them. It could have been for 20 years they've been in your life. But how deeply do you know them?
mm, mm. You know what?
I'm clocking myself too, like it ain't just you. Like I'm like, mm.
Mm. You also had me thinking about it's not even only who can read those books, but who wants to. And that is a whole separate issue. And
Mm.
but you know, like I and this leads me to kind of our final question to round us out, but I would really love for you to give the advice that for students who are wanting to be, speaking of want, who are wanting to be in a similar space as you of where you are
Hmm.
now, what is that advice that you would give to them? What's advice that you would give to our listeners of people who want to be in the ed tech space or people who are even through some of the concepts that we've talked about, whether it's mental health or kind of
Hmm.
breaking the culture of connection, of fractured connection that we have in this modern
Hmm.
age? What is just some lasting advice that you would like to round us out with?
My gosh, there's so much. I don't know how to package this in like 2 minutes, but I'm like, I'll choose six. And yes, my brain's like, why six? Because Pokemon team only had six Pokemon on it max. So again, my Pokemon brain is like literally at that. So I think my first thing of advice, right? When it comes to ed tech at all, if you want to get into ed tech, please talk to professors, talk to students, talk to admin. Do not build shit without talking to at least somebody in that space first. Please don't. Don't do it. They've already dealt with plenty of that. Don't do it. It doesn't help them at the end of the day, and you're not helping yourself. That's my first thing, right? Don't build without them involved in any way, shape, or form. Right. My second thing, right? Please, pick up a journaling practice. I know you're gonna sit there and be like, do I have to? Yes. Yes, you do. I promise you, it is my personal therapist. It's the cheapest therapist I'm able to afford right now because I do not have a physical therapist, right? But like, pick it up. I promise you, if you really give it a go, you will be able to unstuck yourself from a lot of situations you find yourself in. If you just give yourself the time and space to take that vitamin W, that white space we talked about, and really dig into it. That's my first thing. My third thing, right? I want y'all to build up a strong self concept, right? I know that it can, and I've been there in my life before where it's like I get lonely and it's like, oh, I wanna, but like I'm gonna need y'all to resist the temptation of filling your life with people that make you feel lonely and having people in your life just because you're lonely. Like you don't want to do that, right? Because sometimes, and I learned this the hard way, some people don't have your best interest at heart, right? And you got to be strong enough, self concept again, to be like, nah, I'm gonna let you go. It was nice knowing you, but I'm gonna need you to stage left now and I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and you're gonna do what you're gonna do, and that's okay, cool, awesome. We can reconvene at another point in human history, but it ain't gonna be now. Cool, awesome. Right? I mean, my third thing. Fourth thing. I didn't mention this too much. Curiosity. Curiosity. If you are a curious person, you will never be bored. Ever. There are so many things in this world you can ask about. You can ask about yourself. You can ask about other people. You can ask about why things are the way they are. There are so many ways you can be curious. So go down. Ask questions. Do when you stop asking questions, you're inviting intellectual death into yourself. Don't do that. Be intellectually active for as long as you possibly can, preferably until the day you die. So be curious, right? I would say other things. I would say I think fifth, how to learn how to learn, right? One of the things I wish K-12 taught me and the undergraduate taught me, but didn't, is learning how to learn, right? And I'll name drop some people. So Jonathan Levy, Google them. Jonathan Levy, Lev Golden Touch, Anthony Mativier, Jim Quick, Michael Simmons, Justin Sung. Look those names up and learn from them. I promise you, if you learn how to learn any other skill after the fact, becomes so much easier to acquire. And in this day and age, you not learning, whether it be personally or professionally, is putting yourself at an advantage. So you gotta have a learning practice and refine your skill to learn. Because I promise you, if you went through the KHL system and even undergrad, you probably did not learn the skill. 9 times out of 10, I'm betting my bond dollar on it. And then last thing, and I'd say this to wrap it up, is just interconnectedness, right? I think again, as part of living in Western culture, I think we tend to think that, oh, I'm an individual. And like, yes, we're individuals, don't get me wrong, but like we owe people, right? People have poured into us to help us get to where we are. We cannot just sit here and be like, oh, I don't owe you shit. And yes, you do. Yes, I do, actually. Yes, you do, right? So ask yourselves, how can I find a way to give back, right? And for me, like, and this leads quickly into my other project that's coming up after that I want to kind of focus on as I move into a new season of my life is I've spent 10 years 10 years putting the dots together. I literally have all of my journals that I have over the from like 2016 onwards that I've written in. And it's like I spent 10 years trying to get the clarity on who I want, what environments I've been in, how they make me feel, all these other things through my journaling. And it's like I don't want other people to spend 10 years of their life to get to that point. Right. And I can help you get there. A to B, there we go. Awesome sauce. So I'm working on starting up a consulting business in which I'm teaching people how to journal in a way in which you're getting clarity and acting like clarity ASAP, right? So you're not spending so much time, wanting to be like, oh, I don't know what to do, or like I'm stuck in it. Like, did you write about it? Did you think about it? Go do that first, right? So that's like one of my major projects because I realized, oh wow, I was asking myself the question, Amaya, like over and over again, like, what is my ikigai? Like, what is my ikigai? Like, what is my purpose? And so, if you're not familiar with the concept of ikigai, it's a Japanese idea of being a reason for being, and it's an intersection of these 4 points: what you're good at, what you're passionate about, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, right? So, your ikigai being an intersection of all four of those things. I've been asking myself that question many, many years, and it's just like, oh, wow, I've literally been writing every single freaking day of my life, and I'm like, oh wow, how come I haven't realized this? Like I was just like, oh, this would have been really helpful to realize, but I guess I just didn't realize it until literally just now. It's like, oh, yeah, let me do that. So that's kind of like the next chapter of my life as I get ready for that. So I'm very excited to see where that goes. But I think it's super needed. And again, vitamin W. I really do think that a lot of us, I know myself, I need to take it on a regular basis to keep my system in check. So yeah, that's my six,
Oh,
folks.
that was so profound. Oh my, like, let me know when that business starts so I can be on the wait list.
Girl, I got you. Yes, 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 yes.
In all seriousness, each of those examples is needed. And it's so funny that you equated it to, oh, well, you can have like max 6 people on a Pokemon team. That those practices should be on your team. You know what I mean? Of like building
Hmm.
your own things. So I think it's good of making yourself kind of work with yourself in many different ways and viewing that self-concept in a way, even if you can gamify it a little bit, like make it
Hmm.
easier for yourself because it can be a long, vulnerable, deep
Hmm.
process. And
Hmm.
it's important to recognize that, but figuring out how do you work your way through it is the biggest thing because that is what's going to help you perform and be the person that you want to be. And I'm excited to see how everybody, turns out, hey, commenters, hey, audience, put how you are, put how you will be in the comments of this episode. But I can't wait to see everything that I get to be just from getting to listen to you today because it really has been so insightful getting to sit with you today. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you so much for what you and your co founders are building. And just thank you again for being all that you are. And I really appreciate you being here with us today and spreading your wisdom.
Amaya, it has been a pleasure, right? And again, I've learned it from people that are smart and intelligent. I just learned from them, and I just picked it up from life experience. Pass it on when you can,
Hmm.
right? Because again, it's just at the end of the day, we're all walking each other home, if you will. If you think about it from like a kind of morbid, if you will, but we're all kind of walking each other. Look, I'm kind of a morbid person. Like, look, like no lie. So dark humor. Hello, hi. But like we're all walking each other home. So like, let's help each other. Like that's how we survive as a species. Why are we not helping each other? Like, let's do that. I'd rather do
Mm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah. We're all walking each other into our purposes. Like it's very, very real. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. And that period, that should be everybody help each other. If you haven't
Mm-hmm.
done it today, find a way that you can help somebody.
Agreed. Amaya, it was such a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me on.
Of course, anytime. That's a wrap for today's episode of the Intentional Intern podcast. We hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a boost of motivation to take on your career journey. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow, leave a review, and share it with your network. Connect with us on LinkedIn and Instagram and let us know your thoughts. Your feedback fuels our next great episode. Until next time, stay intentional, keep growing, and keep shining bright. See you in the next episode.